Cassie is finally getting everything she ever wanted: fame, money, and millions of eyes locked on her. But the bigger her success becomes, the more she starts destroying everyone around her. Nate is now living surrounded by trash and debt. Rue is being watched by Alamo, and Maddie is slowly realizing she never really had control over anything. What makes this episode even darker is the message behind it. Hollywood doesn't turn people into stars, it turns them into monsters. The episode opens with an epilogue showing that after Nate completely failed as a provider, Cassie finally decided to take control of her own life and chase a future built around success and money. Her rise to fame truly began once Brandon Fontaine tagged her on social media, causing her to gain over 17,000 new subscribers almost overnight. Maddie immediately took advantage of the momentum and started pushing Cassie's potential to the limit, making her produce new content every single day for different audiences. Some men requested specific outfits, others wanted certain poses or detailed instructions, while some were into humiliation and far stranger fetishes. Still, the most common request of all was simply hearing Cassie say their names. After weeks of non-stop work, Maddie managed to help Cassie reach 50,000 subscribers. But that was only the beginning. She also started getting her into different spaces to increase her exposure even more. Cassie appeared on podcasts and online shows where she talked about Maddie, what she was doing, and all the controversy surrounding her. Even though this caused a lot of people to hate her, it also made more and more people talk about her, pushing her popularity even higher. Despite everything, Cassie could never fully let go of Nate. Deep down, she still missed him. And the clearest proof comes when she sends him $35,000 to stop him from getting evicted. To Maddie, this was unbelievably stupid. In her eyes, a husband is supposed to be a provider, and Nate had become the exact opposite, dead weight. On top of that, the fact that they were still legally married represented a massive risk to Cassie's career, since Nate would technically be entitled to half of everything she earned. That's why Maddie keeps insisting she needs to divorce him as soon as possible, especially now that her career is about to fully explode. As time goes on, Cassie starts doing increasingly extreme things to satisfy her subscribers and become the biggest creator out there. The episode represents this literally by showing her as a giant towering over California, symbolizing the insane growth of her social media presence. The endless flood of messages and support makes her feel almost untouchable, as if she has conquered Hollywood and risen far above ordinary people. Compared to her, everyone else looks tiny and insignificant, including people like Frank and all of his bizarre fetishes. Cassie walks through the destruction across California as a visual representation of how she's literally breaking the internet with her content. In the end, she kneels in front of the Hollywood sign, making it clear that she finally achieved exactly what she always wanted: fame and money. Meanwhile, Alamo is furious with Big Eddie after learning that, despite working together for 15 years, he decided to betray him. One of Alamo's men tries to justify it by saying anyone would have done the same out of fear of dying, but Bishop sees loyalty very differently. The betrayal pushes Alamo into such a rage that he even considers going to the hospital himself just to finish Big Eddie off personally. To him, Big Eddie didn't just try to save his own life. He endangered everyone else by leaving the business in Laurie's hands and pushing the situation into extremely dangerous territory. Bishop, much calmer than the others, tells them they can still take back what belongs to them. All they need are weapons and the element of surprise. But to make that happen, they need Rue's help, because she'll have to draw a complete map of the farm so they can plan the attack. However, the tension inside the group finally explodes over something completely ridiculous when one of Alamo's men brings him a pair of pants that aren't even his size. Alamo is 6 feet 3 inches, and the pants were clearly made for someone much shorter, which only pushes him deeper into the rage he was already struggling to contain under all the pressure surrounding him. This happens right after Alamo starts feeling like he's surrounded by nothing but Judases. To him, the mistake with the pants isn't some harmless accident. It's a direct insult to his authority. He sees it as proof that his own men now view him as small, weak, and insignificant, like someone they no longer truly respect. That thought alone is enough to make him completely snap at his employee. The situation escalates fast when Alamo, consumed by fury, grabs an ice pick and prepares to kill his subordinate over the mistake. The terrified man literally wets himself while desperately begging for his life. For a moment, it genuinely seems like Alamo is about to murder him, but at the very last second, he decides to spare him, making it painfully clear just how emotionally unstable and dangerous he has become. Meanwhile, Cassie is now living inside one of Brandon's luxury California condominiums. She can't stop thinking about how important he's been in helping boost her career and turn her into a social media sensation. That's when Brandon takes the opportunity to finally speak honestly with her about Maddie. According to him, Maddie isn't a real manager at all. She's just the assistant to an actual manager who spends all day answering phone calls. Even though Cassie tries to defend her friend and insists that Maddie is genuinely talented, Brandon refuses to change his mind. Brandon bluntly tells her that Maddie is just another parasite in Hollywood, someone with no real power or important connections. In his eyes, if Cassie truly wants to blow up and become a massive star, she needs someone like him behind her. He offers to build an entire professional brand around her, complete with videographers, photographers, editors, sponsors, and a full production team dedicated to her image. Basically, he's offering her the opportunity of a lifetime. But with one very clear condition: she has to leave Maddie behind and move in with him. Cassie fully understands the level of success she could reach by accepting the offer. But at the same time, she doesn't want to betray Maddie because she still considers her best friend. Brandon then changes tactics. He grabs his phone and uploads a picture of Cassie to Instagram, knowing perfectly well that if he can't convince her himself, the reaction from millions of followers probably will. Later on, Cassie calls Nate to tell him everything that's happening. Nate is completely drowning in debt and crushed by the pressure of the people demanding their money back. At this point, he has no pride left to protect, so he ultimately agrees to keep supporting Cassie's new career, even if that means pretending she's in a relationship with Brandon and moving in with him. Cassie promises to send him another transfer to help cover part of his debts, something that at least gives him a little temporary relief. At the same time, Rue receives a call from Alamo asking her to meet with him privately, something that has never happened before. While she waits, she runs into Bishop, who is getting ready for a very disturbing job. Bishop starts putting on a plastic suit, making it obvious that he's planning to do something extremely violent and doesn't want to get blood on himself during the process. Rue eventually enters Alamo's room and finds him calmly playing the trumpet, in a strangely unsettling way. That's when he reveals that he just spoke with Lori, and apparently she wants to see him. But Alamo is convinced Lori is only planning to get revenge on him for everything that's happened, so he decides he has to strike first before she gets the chance. Knowing Rue is familiar with Lori's house, Alamo asks where she thinks Lori could be hiding her valuables. Rue suspects the money might be stored in the basement, but that's when Alamo makes it clear Lori has something far more important than cash hidden away. Even so, he refuses to explain exactly what it is, making the mystery around what he's really after even more intense. Later that night, Rue meets with the agents to tell them about Lori's upcoming meeting with Alamo, a meeting she hasn't been invited to. Even so, the agents tell her she has to find a way inside so she can record everything. To make that happen, they push her to speak with Lori directly. Rue apologizes for what happened with Paladin, although Lori can clearly tell she's lying. After failing to gain access through either Alamo or Lori, Rue calls Wayne, who immediately tells her he knows just how much she misses being his mule again.
Every fucking day, man.
Meanwhile, Maddie gets a call from Cassie, who finally realizes that Maddie actually is just an assistant. On top of that, Cassie has already been offered a contract with Drill House, and she signs it without even consulting her. When Cassie visits Maddie's real home, the two finally confront each other over all the lies they've both been hiding. Cassie tells her that despite everything Maddie has done to help her, a TikTok agency has already reached out wanting to work with her. She also reassures Maddie that she's still her best friend, but admits she's choosing a different path now. A massive opportunity to keep growing as an influencer.
Hi, this is Madeline Perez. I'm calling about the LA Nights audition with Cassie. Yeah, the one with Dylan. I'm gonna have to cancel that. Dylan?
The moment Maddie hears that, she immediately tells Cassie she has no idea what she's doing, and insists that of course she still wants to work with her. But knowing there's a real chance Cassie could eventually leave, Maddie pushes her into signing a contract.
Great.
The problem is that Maddie had been lying the entire time because she never actually submitted Cassie's audition. So she turns to Lexi for help, and even though Lexi doesn't want to abuse her influence inside the company, she also doesn't want her own sister turning against her. Cassie has no idea any of this is happening, and when she arrives to sign in for her audition, she immediately starts trying to draw attention to herself.
I'm 5'5" and my measurements are 37, 24, 37. I'll be doing a monologue from Antony and Cleopatra by William Shakespeare.
Once the audition begins, Cassie performs a Shakespeare monologue in front of Lexi and Patty. The second Patty notices Lexi watching, she immediately asks her a question about her sister.
If she can do Shakespeare, she can do LA Nights.
Elsewhere, Jules is spending time with Rue. Their relationship continues to feel like a constant push and pull. Jules clearly still has stronger feelings for her and starts asking Rue about past relationships. But Rue only admits that the last person she was involved with was Angel. And we already know that situation ended terribly.
You two are in love?
Definitely. I find that hard to believe. What, that we were in love?
Jules tells Rue she has a hard time believing any of that, and says being around her makes her feel like they're back in high school again, eventually encouraging Rue to kiss her. Rue says she can't because she already has her sugar daddy situation, but Jules keeps pushing, telling her that if she wants something more than just a kiss, she can have that too. Later that night, Jules does end up climaxing, but not with Rue. With Ellis instead, who has already seen Rue's shorts and comments that they look like men's clothing.
I give you a lot of freedom, but I got kids, I got a wife. I cannot be coming home with a fucking STD.
Those words deeply affect Jules, and for the first time we actually see her break down crying. Meanwhile, Nate is still living surrounded by garbage. But Cassie keeps sending him money and putting food on the table just like she promised. Nate is genuinely thrilled by it and even celebrates by dancing around his apartment. The problem is that he has no idea Nas has already sent one of his debt collectors after him. And as karma finally catches up to Nate, the beating he receives is brutal, graphic, and incredibly painful.
No, I just got 30K, okay? I was gonna call Nas. Please.
Tragically, Nate loses the finger that had been stitched back together, along with another finger on his left hand, and his screams are barely heard by a little girl nearby. Back at the club with Rue, we see Magic, who has already discovered all the drugs Rue planted to frame her.
When I was trying to tell Big Eddie, then the robbery happened.
Magic tells Alamo that Rue can't be trusted. Alamo only focuses on the fact that Magic was somehow connected to the robbery and starts piecing things together. In the security footage, he recognized Faye, but not the actual robbers. In other words, if Magic had really been living with them, she should have recognized their voices, but she didn't, which leaves Alamo thinking very carefully about the entire situation. At the same time, Rue goes out to dinner with Maddie, who has already told her everything that happened with Cassie.
I've removed emotion. It's business.
Rue keeps bringing up the tension between them, admitting she could easily snap just from seeing Cassie again, but Maddie insists she's a professional and knows how to separate business from personal feelings.
It all goes back to Jesus.
Right then, Bishop, who has secretly been following Rue, finally makes it obvious they're being watched. Alamo suddenly interrupts the dinner, flirts a little with Maddie, and casually invites himself to sit at their table.
Rue seems to believe that God sent her. God or the devil.
Right away, Maddie tries to get to know Alamo, who answers her with a sarcastic attitude. It's obvious he no longer trusts Rue, but he keeps talking to Maddie, especially after learning she knows he owns several clubs. That's when Bishop calls Alamo, creating the perfect excuse to send Maddie off with him and G, essentially leaving her at Alamo's mercy. The moment Rue steps away, she heads over to meet Bishop and G. As soon as Rue gets inside the car, Bishop asks for her phone. The request immediately makes her nervous, but knowing she's being monitored and recorded, she hands it over anyway. G drives as far out as possible, eventually taking her deep into the desert and forcing her to start digging a hole. The second Rue realizes the hole is so deep she wouldn't even be able to climb back out. Bishop throws dirt down onto her, making it painfully clear they no longer trust her at all. Meanwhile, Maddie keeps talking with Alamo. They discuss the women in Alamo's life, but also Maddie's own dreams of making more money and eventually becoming a manager like her boss. The conversation shifts toward numbers and statistics, something that genuinely interests Alamo, mostly because he's impressed by how clearly Maddie knows what she wants. Eventually, Maddie even starts talking about Cassie. The topic catches Alamo's attention because he already manages girls of his own, and if they decided to do business together, they could easily take a 30% cut and split the profits. After that, Alamo suggests they go meet his girls, while the conversation naturally shifts back toward Rue. Maddie admits that despite all her flaws, Rue still has a genuinely good heart.
She's a little crazy, but she has a good heart.
Once they arrive at the Silver Slipper, Maddie tells Alamo she wants to meet his best girls, carefully observing each one of them. In the past, she used to look for good girls she could turn bad. These girls, though, were already bad from the start, and Magic was easily the worst of them all. In the end, Maddie chooses Kitty and Magic. Meanwhile, Cassie is still mailing out her underwear when Lexi suddenly shows up, upset that Cassie went to the audition while lying about having a recommendation.
I'm gonna be a household name!
You are literally the most selfish, narcissistic person I have ever met.
But that's what it takes to make it in this town!
Completely overwhelmed with excitement, Cassie thanks Lexi because she genuinely believes her life is finally about to change forever. But Cassie is far too excited to think about anything else at this point, to the point where she even breaks down crying. Finally, the next morning, Alamo rides out on horseback to where Rue has been left. Only her head is visible above the ground. Bishop and the others buried her well enough that that's all anyone can see.